Hello and welcome. This is Pam. Today I'm going to be sharing some amazing, life-changing successes from the Wellness Champions. Students that are following a program, a plan to treat infections and recover from chronic disease. You're going to hear amazing successes of students that are currently in the program right now. If we haven't met, my name is Pam Bartha, and I'm the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 35 years ago. By the grace of God, I learned early on that I was dealing with a parasitic infestation. We didn't know all the different parasites that were involved at the time, but since then, I have done a ton of research. I've shared so many different studies and so much research showing the different types of parasites that are quite common in multiple sclerosis, also the disruptions that they cause in different parts of our biochemistry in our body, how they affect the immune system. So there is this mountain of evidence, and that's all good and fine, but does the plan work? Does it work when we actually treat these parasites? Can we recover from chronic disease? Well, I'm living testament of that, but there are many others also. And so if you have not followed my work, make sure to check out our playlists on YouTube. You'll see the successes. You can hear their voices. But today I'm going to be sharing some amazing current successes of students that are, some of them are just starting in the program. Some of them are just finishing the 3-month full support Live Disease Free plan. And it's totally miraculous, the improvements that they're having. And I'm really honored to share this with you. So the first student that I wanted to share is a student that has been in the program for the full 90 days. And I'm just going to keep their names anonymous. What I like to do is I like to share their successes. I am going to have a blog post on our website. That's livediseasefree.com. Make sure that you're part of our group, that you get emails so that you know when I'm posting these amazing articles and you'll be seeing successes. I will be sharing some pictures that I can and also some videos. I'll be talking about that as we go through. So this first student, when she first chatted with me, like she's in her mid-60s, and she had suffered terribly all her life. She literally went from being bedridden for 10 years before she met me. She was on psychiatric medications. It was so bad, her cognitive function, that she could not even read a book. And she believed that she had parasites. She passed some, and she tried to talk to her doctors about it, but they're not trained in recognizing, identifying, and treating parasites, so they didn't believe her. So she just went from doctor to doctor, and they ended up putting her on psychiatric medications, and she was literally not able to function, bedridden, which is for 10 years. What a waste of our life, right? To not be able to get help. But she knew she was dealing with parasites. So what she did was she went and just started treating and trying to, like a lot of you might be going online and trying to figure out, like, how do I treat parasites, and use herbs, and you do coffee enemas. And then some people are going online and they're ordering different types of parasite medications. And that's actually very dangerous to do, because what if you don't even need that parasite drug? What if it's not going to be effective for the parasites you have? What if you're not using the right dose? What if you hurt yourself? Or what if you're taking a suboptimal dose and you're making those parasites resistant? Then that drug is never going to work for you in the future. So the crazy thing is that she kept trying and trying, and she actually, when she joined, she shared like a whole bunch of pictures of worms that she passed before she started the program. So that was very helpful, because that's one of the criteria we use to help students to work with practitioners and to build a treatment plan. It's because we don't have very good tests for these parasites. So that's what she did. And she joined the program. Within just, I would say, like a week or two or less, she was able to come out of bed for the first time in a long time, to be able to do things during the day. Like, sure, she could probably get up to go to the bathroom, but she could not function before. And now she could start to be up for short periods of time. And she noticed that, like, her cognitive function had improved so much she could start reading a book Like how we take that for granted, right? But if your brain is not working and you can't even read a book, that's absolutely brutal. So she just joined at the end of April. So this is just May, June, July, and August. So like 4 months she's been on this journey with me in the Live Disease-Free plan. And so she started to notice again, she was able to get out of bed. She was able to start doing things around the house. Her cognitive function was improving. Then she was able to start gardening again, and she forgot that she had such a green thumb. So even in the heat that they've had, and that's another huge thing, is that normally people don't tolerate heat when you have a lot of parasites, when you have chronic disease. But just by making the parasites more quiet, she was actually able to decrease the inflammation enough and decrease the toxins produced by them enough that she was able to start gardening. And she forgot what a green thumb that she had. And then she shared, and this was just like the beginning of July, that her husband and her so she's in her 60s, he's in his 70s, and they went to the ocean to boogie board the first wave. And she's like, why not? So that's a pretty big step. That shows you that she really is starting to notice significant improvements. Also, she started knitting again, whereas she hadn't touched knitting needles since 2017. Crazy, since 2017. Then in August, I'm just going to give you a few updates from her. It took her a little while to start treating with the parasite drugs because she was on medications and she really wanted to be feeling better. We call that the prep phase, where we're really supporting the body. She was still passing a ton of parasites by using the oxidizing enemas and feeling so much better. But in August, she did her first treatment cycle and she passed again more and more worms. So she's passed a ton of different worms. Some look like roundworms, some definitely look like possible tapeworms and possible flukes. And so she said at this time, this was like mid-August, she was able to be off of most of her prescription medications. So with these medications, sometimes we have to decrease them very slowly so that we do not have adverse effects. And she was also able to stand balanced on one leg on an inverted Bosu ball like that. For a lot of us that don't have core muscles, that's a little tricky to stand on one leg on a Bosu ball balanced. That's really awesome. Then in August, she started to apply to be a literacy tutor. So going from can't even read a book at the end of April to applying to be a literacy tutor in her county. So giving back already, that is the heart of the Wellness Champions, right? We love to give. And then she sent, and I'll be sharing this photo with you on our blog post. So that's like an article that I write, and that'll be on livediseasefree.com. We usually publish it on Friday or Mondays. And so that will be a photo of her and her husband on her boat. And she wanted us to share that. And she said, I still can't believe I spent 10 years in bed on psychiatric medications, constipated, feeling miserable. And within weeks, I am now up all day and very active. And it's if I'm 45 years young and not 66 years old. She probably felt older than 66 even. So amazing. The body is amazing. It can heal itself when it's getting the right support. So she said, thank you, Pam, for all you do. Not a day goes by when I don't think of what a gift from God you are to our lives. This is why I do the work. This is my reward, is hearing these amazing successes. And it is hard work for sure. But it's not as hard work as living with these parasites. Let's go on to, there's still more successes from her. So I'm just kind of highlighting one student, and then I'll give you a few updates from a few other students that are all in different parts of the program. So then August, towards the end of August, the 26th, she shared, I can breathe while I do swimming exercises. Since I was a teenager, when swimming, I began to have difficulty to grasp air when in the water on my belly swimming. So when she was swimming, she said, I could never get enough air to put my head in and out of the water at the lake. I couldn't fill my lungs with air each time my head entered the water to get air in to swim. Well, today, after the Live Disease-Free diet and treating the underlying parasites, the parasitic load and fungal load have decreased so much significantly that I can breathe once again. And it's been a long time since childhood that I could breathe this well. So when we have a parasitic infestation, it's not just like we have MS and we just have specific neurological symptoms. We can have, our hair may not grow as well. Our fingernails won't grow. Our vision can be impacted. Even with we need stronger readers, like our vision, our distance and close-up vision can be impacted. Everything about us, we look older. Like the more our microbes are imbalanced, the younger we look. Like we look tired, right? When we have a lot of parasites, because it's your immune system is struggling, and there's all the toxins that are produced by these poisons or by the parasites also. So she said, praise the Lord, today I am alive, thriving, ever reaching upward. What a gift from God it is to be alive and healing and getting healthy. To get old and not feel well as part of aging, it is simply not true. So she literally went from feeling at least 66 or maybe even older to feeling in her 40s just by treating the parasites and the poisons they produce. She's not done yet. She still is treating. She's only done one treatment cycle, but she has had incredible, remarkable improvements. And I just wanted to share too, I don't know if I grabbed this or not, but we just had our call yesterday, and one of our students has documented she's passed 400 worms. That is not uncommon for people that have chronic disease to pass that many. And so this is what you can see. What about the bacteria, the thousands of bacteria you don't see, like the Borrelia and Clostridia, and there's mycoplasma, there's all kinds of different types of protozoa and bacteria that are smaller that we can't see with the naked eye. There's even some smaller worms. Actually, I was listening to a lady today that is like a parasite guru, and she lives in, I won't say what city, but in the Northwest in the United States, and she had her water tested and they found nematode eggs or larvae in the water. And this is treated water, so that makes us really rethink things a lot. So it's not just from our pets, not just from our soil, but yes, it can be from treated water that's not treated well enough, because it really depends on how well the water is treated. She said, I am very grateful to you and to the Live Disease-Free program. And she also shared she's becoming an ambassador. So we do have students that graduate and they're sharing the program with everyone because they have their life back. And so we partner with them and we thank them for sharing and for trusting us and for the amazing work that they've done. It's just such an honor to support them. So she said, for it is a gift from God, and we get stronger and the world gets healthier when we share. Amazing. So this is so inspirational. Another student I wanted to share with you, her name, I'll keep it anonymous too. She's in the program right now. When she joined, she has multiple sclerosis, and she was quite disabled when she joined, very disabled, using a wheelchair. And she also had to do a surgery just when she joined. So a surgery sets us back, right? Because it's like your body is already struggling, your immune system is struggling. And then when you have surgery on top, I think it was a foot surgery that she had. So she literally had a rough start when she started. And so she followed the diet and she supported the body. That's what we always do. So she was feeling a lot better, but she found that whenever she started treating, that she was having, she wasn't tolerating the treatments very well. That's what happens sometimes when we have a lot of parasites, and she could not do the oxidizing enemas because she was quite disabled. Well, our wellness champions are so ingenious, and she found this little contraption where she could do an enema on the toilet, and it is making such a big difference. So now she has been treating a little bit, so she hasn't been at full dosages yet, but her left hand is starting to work again. Isn't that amazing? And that's what I really want to give you hope, because we've seen very many times where maybe somebody hasn't used their hand for years. It could even be over 10 years. And when you treat the inflammation and the infection enough in the gut, then all of a sudden, sometimes the hand starts working, right? Or the drop foot is resolved and people can start walking. So there is so much recovery that we can have that we didn't know possible. I believe this with all of my heart from working with thousands of students all over the world. And we believe, maybe we're told this, once you're in a wheelchair, you're never coming out. And that is simply not the case of what we've seen. We can't promise full recovery, but when students, they treat effectively enough, then they are going to have more recovery than they ever thought possible. And we have many students that have come out of scooters and wheelchairs, which is so incredibly exciting. So she is starting to use her hand again. She said, I'll just read what she said. She said, I'm feeling really good. The strength and stamina are lasting all day, and even more strength and more stamina. It's improving. My left hand is starting to voluntarily extend and reach for things, and my fingers are more active. So these oxidizing enemas that I've been doing every day for the last 3 weeks are really helping a lot. She said, it's making an amazing difference. I feel better than I have in a long time. So think about this. This is like clearing some of the parasites only out of the large intestine. And it's making that much of an improvement in her stamina, in her strength, and also in her being able to use her hand. That is absolutely amazing. And our body uses oxygen to kill pathogens, to kill different types of parasites. And then a more recent update, she said, I continue to use my left hand with what I am doing so that it's getting stronger and more functional. And when I stand up off the bed, like, isn't that amazing, right? Starting to have more mobility. I barely have to push with my fingers anymore. I am doing those oxidizing enemas daily, except for yesterday. And she's going to start treating again with the parasite treatments, which I think she will tolerate a lot better because she's really decreasing that burden in the intestines, in the large intestines. So absolutely amazing. The next student, she actually has been able to go back to work part-time. So she's been in the program, just basically graduating. So about 3 months, I would say, maybe 3.5 months. And she is actually able to go back to work, not full-time yet, but part-time, several half days during the week. And she said, I'm doing very good physically. I'm doing sports sessions 5 times per week, which is amazing. And then also she said, everyone is happy with my improvements. Some think that MS is indeed due to parasites and or intestinal dysbiosis. And this beautiful student, she actually has a language barrier. She's mentioned she has to translate everything thanks to technologies now. So we're working on that. As we're growing more and more, we will make this available in different languages. There's lots of great AI tools for that. So happy for her. It's so much fun when you can, we have another student, I didn't grab hers, but another one to mention that she's feeling basically symptom-free and able to carry on with life. So this next student, she shared that number one, following the diet, supporting the body, feeling a lot better. And then she was just 5 days on one of the parasite drugs, and she shot a little video of herself walking. Before, she had to use a walker all the time. And then after, she didn't need to use the walker. Like, she wasn't perfect, but she was walking without the walker after 5 days of using this one parasite drug. Well, since then, she's continued to treat, and she's basically just finished the program. And this is her success that she wanted to share. She said, the last 3 months of going through the Live Disease-Free plan has changed my life forever. What a gift from God, wisdom and knowledge the truth is. Learning that my so-called chronic disease that I was diagnosed with, being multiple sclerosis and Lyme disease, is the result of a parasitic infestation is mind-boggling and so encouraging. I'm in the middle of my 3rd treatment cycle, and I'm starting to live my life again. I have small victories every day in my body and my mental state. I am full of joy and excitement for the future. She said, just this week, this was mid-August or the 19th of August, she said, with the help of family and friends, I got to throw my youngest son's 18th birthday for the first time in a long time. That my family has seen me feeling better, and they know I will recover fully as I continue to treat the parasites until they no longer bother me. I am forever grateful to Pam Bartha and the Live Disease Free plan. You are all an answer to prayer. I should say the Live Disease Free team, because we have an amazing team, especially Caroline, my sidekick who's worked with me and put up with me for all these years. My little sister, she's just, we call her Sweet Caroline. She's like a little saint. But it is an honor to be one of the wellness champions that Pam has so graciously taught and coached through the journey. And to see her beautiful, shining face, it's so amazing. And she is sharing the Live Disease Free plan with others, because when you get your life back, that's why I do this work, because I was given a second chance. And I was so devastated when I was told that I would be completely disabled in a wheelchair in time. I had 2 small children and a husband. They were 2 years old and 6 months old. And I thought my life was over. And when I got that second chance, I was so incredibly grateful that has been just driving me all my life. And so today, the celebration of their successes, I get this every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we have many students that share their successes on this journey to recovery. And it's so wonderful. But it is so sad that doctors don't get the same feedback every week from their patients that I get from my students. It's actually insane. It's crazy, because doctors should be, if they're really helping people to recover, they should be hearing from of course, if somebody has a terrible pneumonia, they'll save their life. Or if they get in a car accident, yes, they do get a lot of praise for that. There's certain things that our healthcare system is really good at. But I'm talking about disease, chronic diseases, and really helping people to move on with their life, to recover, to create health, to feel better than they have felt in many, many years. All right. And then the next student wanted to share. So she said, I'm feeling so much better than I did 2 months ago. So she's 2 months in the program. When we last spoke, so that was before she joined, she said, I was just barely on the other side of a terrible health crisis where my body was fighting against an active parasitic infection. The crisis had me out of work for 2 weeks. I was not able to sleep, a lot of fatigue, among other things. With the help of the Live Disease Free diet, the infections were quieted down so much that I was able to go back to work again, sleep each night, and have more energy throughout the day. I'm back to being able to function and work more methodically through the program. That's a really, really important thing that she shared. When somebody gets in a health crisis like this, if our doctors understood that their patient is dealing with parasites and they help them to turn it around so quickly, they can prevent them from being diagnosed with chronic disease. They can prevent them from a life of hell, of expense, pain, agony. So for her, the student, she's able to really get on with her life, to close this chapter of her life and just to move forward. So how amazing is that? And I don't even have all the successes here. I know that I should have added a few more of our male wellness champions too. But they truly are my heroes, because they are so diligent. They are so disciplined. They want their life back so badly. And they are leaders. I call them the leaders, the trailblazers, the forward thinkers, because they're paving a path for you, a path for you to recover from chronic disease, a path for you to prevent chronic disease. Maybe you're not sick. Maybe you just found me. But isn't it wonderful if you could actually prevent chronic disease? That is the ideal way to go. Last one I just wanted to share is a brand new student that just joined just not even a week ago. And when I chatted with her on the phone, she basically started off the conversation with, Pam, I don't know how this meeting is going to go with you. I have such terrible cognitive function. I really struggle with just trying to speak and trying to, get my thoughts out. I said, don't worry. I said, this is very common with a lot of the students I work with. Their cognitive function is greatly impacted by these parasites. But I said, the good news is that the students we've worked with, when you treat the parasites, the brain can heal. You can actually get kicked out of brain studies because you no longer have cognitive impairment, and you can just have higher than average, normal, excelling brain function. That's the exciting thing, is the brain can totally heal. So anyhow, she just shared what she has done so far. This was just before she joined. And she's like, yeah, I found you a few weeks ago and I started on the Live Disease-Free diet that I found on the website that I talk about. And she's like, it's really helped me a lot. She said, I, number one, have more strength. She said, I'm not getting up so many times throughout the night to go to the bathroom. So my bladder urgency has improved significantly. And she said, I'm not using my cane anymore. I'm just like, whoa, that's amazing. And she did this without even my help. And then she also said, I had this, like, it felt like 100 pounds on my back, and it was painful, like this weight on my back. And she said, that's completely gone also. So please, if you have just found me for the first time, if you haven't changed your diet, look on our website, livediseasefree.com, go to research and then the Live Disease-Free Diet Guidelines. And there you can start to implement, just decrease your carbs. Healthy, complex carbohydrates, it's not that they're unhealthy. It's not that they're bad for you. It's that when you're really infested with parasites and you decrease your carbs enough, you're going to feel like a different person, like this student who just joined. So like, she's already ahead of the game because she, like a lot of students, they'll just join and then they'll start implementing the diet, but she's already had tons of improvements. So it's going to be like a couple of fine tweaks. And then she's going to be going through the checklist, making sure she's supporting the body. We want you to be feeling better before you start treating. That is a really important part of the Live Disease-Free plan, is that it's very important that you are feeling a lot better before you start treating. That way you will tolerate the treatments. You'll tolerate the herbs. You'll tolerate the prescription medications that work for you, that are best for you. You will tolerate the oxidizing agents that we use, the oxygen type agents that we're using. And you'll be able to, that's the important thing, because there is no benefit to having Herxheimer reactions. Sometimes you can't avoid them, but we can really avoid them mostly by doing a very successful prep phase. So by supporting the body and making the parasites less active, you will start feeling better, like right away. Within a week or two, you can start improving your health. You don't have to wait. It's not like the herbs and the parasite drugs are a magic cure. They're not. It's going to take multiple cycles. They can lay 200,000 eggs in a day. There's larvae. They've been living in you. As I mentioned, that one lady has documented 400 worms already. And it can be a combination. It's never just like, oh, I only have roundworms. Maybe if you're not sick, you might only have roundworms. But if you have any type of chronic disease, you have intestinal and just dysbiosis throughout your body. So you have different types of worms, very often round and flat worms, which could be flukes, and also tapeworms. Protozoa, there's many different types of protozoa. You can have more than one type of protozoa. Also bacteria, there's many different types of bacteria. And fungus, there can be more yeast type fungi or mold type fungi. And think about it as being a weedy lawn or a weedy garden. We usually have multiple different types of weeds. They're pests, and so are parasites. They are pests inside of us, and they will be in different types. So you have to treat all four categories. You've got to treat worms and protozoa and bacteria and fungi. And when you cycle through that and build back the good microbes, build a healthy lifestyle, this is how these wellness champion students are taking back their life. And there are people that are starting to work, students that are coming to me that they have tried to treat parasites, whether they've just used herbs, whether they've gone online on different forums and they've got access to parasite drugs and they've tried things, and none of them have said that it's made a big difference. They might have had a tiny bit of symptom or relief at one point, but then not. I wish it wasn't this. It's not really difficult, but you've got to use strategy. That's the key, is you have to use strategy. You have to do things safely. You have to use the right treatments. And we can't wait for good parasite testing. So we have 6 criteria that we work with our students to help them to figure out what are the best treatments. So the plan is the Live Disease-Free plan. It is a plan that we have served thousands of people in many countries. I used to say 15 or 20 countries, but it's more countries now, all over Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States, the Caribbean. It's everywhere. Even Indonesia, like we've worked with students all over in many different countries. And so we may have different parasites in different countries, and even within the same disease, like multiple sclerosis, we don't all have exactly the same parasites. If a parasite is located in a certain part of your body and it causes inflammation to a certain nerve, it could be a different parasite that's causing that same inflammation. So your treatment plan must be individualized for you. And again, we don't have good tests to figure out exactly which parasites you're dealing with. So we have to use a criteria of, well, first of all, preparing to treat, feeling a lot better. This is through making sure we follow the Live Disease-Free diet. If you treat successfully, effectively, and you recover, then you can start slowly introducing carbs back into your life. The right carbs, not the processed carbs, not large amounts of them, but everything in balance. But that is only when you have recovered. Otherwise, you're just going to feed the critters and they're just going to make you continue to feel horrible. And you won't do as well with treatment either. So number 1 is supporting the body. You're feeling a lot better. You're having daily bowel movements. You're sleeping at least 8 hours per night. And a lot of your symptoms are going down. So people notice, again, bladder function is one of the first things to improve. Then they're sleeping better at night. Then they have more stamina during the day. They have more strength. They have more mental clarity. They start to very often notice that the muscle spasms start to decrease. So the muscle spasms are caused by the parasites and also by the electrolyte and mineral imbalances that they cause. I've done different talks on it. So sometimes as we are getting ready to treat, we might want to maybe supplement with certain types of nutrients that will support our minerals and our electrolytes. There's also like leg cramp cream. Again, those are very short term. We don't need them for long because you can start the oxidizing enemas right away with the diet, and that very often clears a lot of the larger parasites out of the large intestine, and you can start feeling so much better very, very quickly. So these muscle spasms are directly and indirectly caused by the parasites. And as you treat them, they go away. We call it spasticity. Again, supporting the body, and then when you're ready to treat, when you're feeling a lot better, you're having daily bowel movements and you're sleeping well, we do have a checklist of other things too. We look at our physiology, our blood work, basic blood work from your doctor, like a comprehensive panel, and we support the areas of the body that need it. We make sure that we eliminate mold and we decrease the wireless radiation in our environment. Those are 2 big factors that can really impact our success. Also just, making sure that we're sleeping well. Like if we have a lot of stress, finding ways to manage it. We have so much stress these days, right? There's so many things going on in our own personal lives and the people that we love. And so we have to find a way to manage that. So we definitely work on all those things. And then once you're feeling better, you're ready to start treating. So this is where we look at our health history, the health history of our parents. We look at our symptoms, also our diagnoses and our energy test results, and the parasites that we're passing with those oxygen type enemas. The energy test results, a lot of people are like, what is energy testing? With every living plant and animal, we have this energy field around us. And when we have a lot of toxins or there's infections, there are certain things that will cause changes in our energy and maybe a decrease in our energy. I'm just really oversimplifying it. When you bring the correct remedy into your energy field, they can do this through machines. They might have a Vega machine, an AMA machine, an EAV machine, or they might use advanced muscle testing. So all of these different energy tests will help them to determine, like, if I bring this remedy into your energy field, does it balance you? Does it make you stronger or no effect at all? So they'll say, yes, this one, no, not that one, yes, this one. So they'll have a list. And so when we look at the types of worms we're passing with those oxygen enemas, and we also look at our energy test results, and we're comparing that plus our diagnosis, plus all the rest, the 6 criteria, that helps us to make quite a good treatment plan. And through all of our experience, we know that the parasite drugs are not a magic cure, that it usually takes multiple parasite drugs working up to actually eradicate the parasites in a meaningful way. And so this is where it's really important to, like if you have flukes, you might be taking working up to 3 or 4 at least different types of parasite drugs to treat the flukes, but also herbs like myrrh, for example, is helpful, and others, and also the oxygen therapy. So it really is like if you want to recover in months and not years and years, it takes, number 1, supporting the body so you can handle it. And then number 2, making a really strategic plan and introducing things as you tolerate them. When you do all these steps, then you will find that you can tolerate it. Some of you are really sensitive to like, oh, Pam, when I do herbs or any kind of medications, I get terrible reactions. That's also part of this immune dysfunction that the parasites are causing. And so that's why it's really important to make them more quiet, support your immune system. And there's certain nutrients that we can use also to support immune function. And even things like, if you've been following my work, I've talked about plasmalogens. You can find those. I don't think I have them on our website, but if you look for them, we do have a coupon code Live Disease Free, all small letters together, if you find it and you want to order it. But it's really important you know how to use it properly. I teach my students how to use it, but that's a nutrient that helps to support nerve structure and function in building myelin. And some of our students they've started using it probably about a month ago, and they're starting to notice that it's really helpful. So the plasmalogens are very sensitive to oxidative stress from our body, our immune system fighting infections. And when you replace that nutrient, then your nerves can start to do more healing and repairing. And so it can be really helpful. And same with glyconutrients, it supports optimal immune function and communication between ourselves. So there's a couple of really key nutrients. So I have one student that's super, super sensitive that can't tolerate anything, but she can tolerate the glyconutrients because they're like nutrition food. They help your immune system to settle down, immune modulation. So this is where, again, it must be an individualized program for you so that we start with where you're at and we support your ability to move forward in whatever way. Some people have to go slow. It's like the tortoise and the hare. And some people can go faster. But if you do the right things, then you'll be able to pick up speed and you'll be able to move more quickly as you decrease the burden and the toxins that they produce and the disruptions that they cause. I've shared so much evidence. Today it's all about the celebration of how well this program works. So again, number 1, get ready to treat. Number 2, we're building a treatment plan. We do cycles. So it's going to be approximately 4 to 6 weeks for each cycle, depending on how many parasite drugs people test well for and how we can combine them in a way that people tolerate them. And then we treat fungus because fungal overgrowth is always present in different types of chronic diseases. And then we take a break week. And during the break week, so it's like, this is the whole cycle, is like 4 to 6 weeks. And at the end, so first is treating larger parasitic worms and protozoa for about 14 days. Then we're treating fungus for about 10 days. And then we're taking a break week, but we are still keeping the pressure on some of the smaller parasites and not making the bigger parasites happy either. But it's more herbs and the oxygen type therapies during the break week. And then people are getting their blood work done. It's very important to monitor kidney and liver function because very often these parasites will infect the liver, gallbladder area. They can cause your liver, not often, but it can cause your liver enzymes to go up. Like if you're treating parasites in your liver, then you want to just take a break, take milk thistle, let it settle down, settles down within 3 weeks or so, get your blood work done. Okay, liver's fine. Then you treat again. And after a few treatment cycles, maybe a couple sometimes, then you don't have elevated liver enzymes anymore. And it's so important to treat parasites in your liver because you need your liver and it can become very, very sick with especially the flukes, but it's not just the flukes, like malaria can infect, and many tapeworms can infect the liver. So it's not just flukes that will infect the liver. Building your treatment plan, this is where you're going to work through cycles. If somebody is catching, disease early, maybe they don't have a diagnosis, they're still functioning quite well, they can still walk, they can still work, but they're suffering, then it might be 4 or 6 treatment cycles. If they've been really disabled for a while, everybody's different. I have Terry, who's one of our wellness champions. You can listen to her story. In 3 months, she was out of her scooter, which is wild to me. And literally, she wasn't walking a lot, but like she was using crutches. She was on her exercise bike. And that was after 3 months of following this plan, or maybe 4 at the most. And that's after 8 years of being in a scooter. But for the average person, you might be treating for a year to a year and a half if you've been really sick, if you have a lot of parasites. It's not that you won't feel well for that long. You're just improving and improving and improving. And so some people, they might have, treated for 6 or 8 cycles and they're feeling really good. They're back to work, they're functioning, but they're still passing worms and they just want to keep going until they really decrease the burden a lot. So that's a big clue, is how do you know when you're ready to stop treating? It's really when you're not seeing the parasites anymore. And then I wouldn't just, like, if you've had like a really big scare of chronic disease, I wouldn't just go, okay, I'm good now. I would, like, instead of monthly treating, then I would do maybe 2 or 3 months between, and then 4 or 5 months between, right? And then eventually, what's really good practice is to treat parasites at least once a year, probably twice a year, and for some of us, 3 times a year. I know with my animals, like the vet is willing to treat my pets like 3 times a year at least. And I think that it's really a good thing to do, especially with pets, because they're eating disgusting things outside our dogs, for example. And this is where I'm really learning more about animals, like horses. Like, if your horse is passing worms, then you probably need to treat more than just 1 shot, right? Consecutive days, but you just have to make sure to check with your vet what is safe for them. We know what's safe for humans, but this is a learning curve for animals too. But I don't think that we're treating our pets well enough. And then just using hygiene, right? Like making sure that, like, I personally wouldn't have pets sleeping in my bed. And we are at the place where our dogs are outside. We have a breed of dogs that like being outside, and I'm really happy about that. Be very careful if you have children that are crawling on the floor, and if your dog goes outside and they step in their feces and then they walk on the floor, right? And even your chickens, like, I'm learning more about the roundworms. Like, the chickens are scratching and they'll eat feces from other animals, and then they get worms, and then they can infect like the outside of the egg with their poop. Like, you have to be not paranoid, but just wise, right? So for us, less learning about like treating our chickens regularly and treating our horses regularly, and still enjoying the animals. I love animals so much, and I will continue to love animals and have them in my life, but I use rubber gloves. And when I come in and I scrub my hands, not just with soap and water, but I have a little brush and I scrub my fingers and under the fingernails and things like that. So those are all ways to just decrease our exposure. But again, if you're gardening, right, you can be exposed to parasites. If you're eating in restaurants, they're everywhere, unfortunately. Sushi is really bad for parasites. Even I heard one lady talking about, I think I mentioned this, but how just in the city municipal water that they found a roundworm, I can't remember if it was eggs or larvae. That's pretty shocking. Not totally shocking, but it's kind of disturbing. So, and two, you never know if like a chlorinator isn't working for, like, we were in a smaller town, maybe like before when I was younger, it was like 100,000 people. And then in one area, like the people that were responsible for treating the water, like the chlorinator might break and then it's not working, and then you're drinking raw water and then you wonder why you feel so terrible. Or if you're swimming in the lake, right? If you're gulping some water by accident, it can be that simple. We do have flukes in our lake, and I'm sure we have nematodes too. We know we have flukes because there's the swimmer's itch, right? And that gives you these big welts, and that is a blood fluke. So our doctors are not talking about it. They're not trained in it. It's a lost skill. It was probably maybe 100 or 150 years ago. It was way more well understood. But right now, it's kind of like they look at you cross-eyed, like, why do you think you have parasites? Well, my vet is treating my animals for parasites, and I've seen them coming out. Like, why could I not have parasites? Like, they just look at you like, what are you talking about? Like, have you traveled to another country? Anyhow, so very important to get ready to treat over multiple cycles, and then build a healthy lifestyle. And then when you feel, and also bringing back the good microbes. So this is where I think probably for the rest of our lives, we should really be eating the fermented foods. I love raw sauerkraut. That's the safest. Making your own is absolutely the best, but there's a lot of places that have really nice raw sauerkraut to start off with. You can take probiotic pills without the prebiotics, but again, I don't find that they're really super helpful. They're called transient strains. They're not really strains that of bacteria and microbes that have lived in human intestines. So they pass through you. You might feel a little better when you're taking them, but when you stop, they don't stay there. They don't live. And that's why the fermented foods are much more helpful. And we need to balance our life. And then, when you have treated well enough, then you can start, like if you've been symptom free, and I would make sure that it's like many months where you're symptom free. I think I took 4 years before I started to increase the carbs, but I had a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, right? And I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a plan. It was all trial and error and figuring it out. But then when you do, what we're really coming to understand is that the whole grains have so many nutrients in them. It's not just the vitamins and the minerals and the vitamin E, etc., but it's also immune supporting nutrients like beta-glucan, arabinogalactan, and different mannans, and probably many other nutrients that we don't know. So the early cultures, when they used to grind their own grain and make bread from that, they had the vitamins, the minerals, but also those other substances that support immune function. And remember that your immune system, 80% of it at least, or around 80%, is located around your intestines. So that is like a perfect food when you tolerate it. But I grew up first started with white bread and then whole wheat, but it's literally wheat that has been bleached, right? So all the natural nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the immune supporting nutrients are gone. They're through processing. And then they throw in a few synthetic vitamins, like a couple, like B vitamins. That's pretty much it. And they throw some bran back. And so it's like a dead food. And then we end up on antibiotics. Like I was on a lot of antibiotics as a child. I had all this dead white food. And then I was on a farm. I was around a lot of animals, playing outside all the time. And I picked up parasites, and my immune system was not working very good in my gut, not able to deal with it. And that's maybe why some of us don't, our immune system isn't dealing with parasites as well as others, because our immune system is not being nourished. And that, remember, most of it is around your intestines. So God is so good. Like he's just giving us more and more insights into all of this. But if you start bringing grains in, like the grains, like the corn, the wheat, even quinoa and all of those, brown rice, if you start bringing it in when you're really infested with parasites, you'll feel horrible, because it's like a war that's out of control. It's like an unfair war. So it's better to, if you want to feel better, it's better to just really simplify your diet for a little while and follow the Live Disease-Free diet. Start feeling a lot better. Again, grains are not bad, but they're feeding the problem. And make the problem more quiet, and then start treating strategically with treatments that you test well for through energy testing, through the types of worms you're passing. I'm telling you all the steps that we take to recover, because I want you to, and I'm hoping practitioners hear this, because I want you to be able to get your health and your life back. And if you need support, you can always reach out to us. We have the Live Disease-Free plan, and I guide people through this whole process. And you can be a wellness champion. Again, everything I'm sharing with you is for educational purposes. It is not intended to replace the necessary measures of your healthcare professional. And you have to be very wise. If you're on any medications, you have to check with your pharmacist, with your doctor to make sure there's no negative interactions, because it can make you really sick if you just mixing things together. And just because you take it at a different time of day, they last in your blood for quite a while. So we want you to be safe. And that's the whole point of the Live Disease-Free plan, is we teach people how to play an active role in their healthcare, how to learn this skill, how to recover in a safe, effective way. And once you have this skill, you'll have it for the rest of your life. So if you enjoy what I've shared with you, please like and share and subscribe. That really helps these platforms to take this information and give it to others, to give other people hope, and real hope of recovery, not of living with chronic disease. And if you're at that place like Pam, I have been following you. Thank you so much for the diet and for all the parasite pictures, and I totally believe I'm dealing with parasites. I don't have support of a practitioner. Please, can I consider getting support from you? Absolutely. Make sure to watch my masterclass training. The link will be beside this video. And once you watch that, then you can reach out to me. You can book a time to make sure it's a good fit for you. There's also the coachathon after that you'll watch, and that goes into more of the steps in detail. So you'll know all the steps we take. You'll have better questions for me, and then you and I can meet. And I'm super excited to get to know you, to support you on this journey back to health. So with that, have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you next week. Take care and bye-bye for now.